This conference will now be recorded.
Interesting.
Okay, hello everyone. We must make the announcement immediately. Hey Danny, how's it going? Uh Grant had his baby when Micah just a little while ago. So, yep,
Yay!
and they're all doing good. So, proud pops over there, I'm sure. So,
And
Awesome.
surprisingly, it's already breastfeeding, which is excellent. That's insane.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's damn quick.
so anywho, how is everyone hanging in there?
It's high.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, it's 81 here in the shop. So,
It's 82 outside, and my thing in here says 85. So,
yeah. Yeah,
because
it's a
I'm
little
too
warm.
cheap to turn the AC on.
There you go. We should admit that.
So, cool. Well, does anybody have anything they want to say or talk about? If not, we can talk about stuff like the show last week. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Things like
Yeah,
that.
just real quick, Brian.
Yeah.
On the latest version of Lightburn, has anybody, or is it just me, that underneath the library, when you pull that up and go to any of them, say acrylic, and you go to assign that setting to the layer, the assign to layer button is no longer there?
That may be in your display.
But
I
it's
have
just
not
that
had that
button.
occur.
You haven't?
And
Okay.
and be more specific when you say latest version, because isn't there a public
Yeah.
1.4 beta?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry. No,
so
1301.
uh, just make sure you're clicking down, not just on the sizing. You have to go down one more layer in the menu,
To open it
and
up
then
more.
yeah,
Yeah, no
and
more of
it's
those little greater than signs. You got to be all the way
yeah.
down to the.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To the cutter, to the engrave. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you have to
huh.
select whatever it is that you're. Yeah, it's working for me, and I'm on the latest, greatest.
A screenshot or something may help determine what's going on. Sometimes those buttons get hidden because of a display, especially on a smaller one if you're on a laptop or something. But
Are you saying it's
um,
not showing up, or it's just not? It's
or is it?
gray.
Yeah.
No, it's not showing up at all.
Oh, then yeah, it's
Have
probably
Have you
hidden.
done a go up to window and do the default
Uh huh.
reset? Have you tried that?
Yep. Yep.
Have you tried closing Lightburn and then holding down Shift when you start it again? That'll also trigger a GUI reset, so it'll put it
No,
back
that I
to
haven't done.
default.
I've rebooted the laptop.
Okay, that's weird. You may want to take a screenshot of that and shoot it to support at thunderlaserusa.com, or if you want to post it here, whatever, we can look at it. But it may be better if we kind of see what's happening there. I haven't heard any examples of that occurring
Hmm.
before, so that's a new one. We might want to deep dive into it a little bit and see what's going on.
I still haven't figured out how to use a library.
Um,
Hey, you know what, Brian? I did have a question I wanted to ask. Is there a
yeah,
definitive list of what materials you can and cannot engrave, can and cannot cut with a Galvo fiber and a Galvo UV?
probably not a definitive one. There's a bunch of lists around and some compiled lists and some aggregate lists, but I don't know of one unified source, that's like the go-to. Um, that there's a lot of rabbit holes you jump through, talking about materials. So that's why you'll see a lot of places they don't have material libraries for Lightburn even populated at all as a starting point because so many lasers act so differently. It's really hard with all those variables to come up with a definitive list. Of course, it's harder with settings. You'd think with materials, the machine wouldn't be as big of a factor if you're just looking for is it safe and will it do it and how does it look and that kind of thing.
The more I research it, the more confused I get instead of the more
Yeah,
clarity.
absolutely. Um,
I'm trying
and
to figure out if I should go fiber for my next laser or UV.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I like a comparison of what each machine does, so you know, because the general consensus is, or the easy way to say it is that the fiber will do almost anything a CO2 won't do, and vice versa. But the UV is weird because it, I think, can do organics, it can do wood, it can do plastic, it can do glass, it can do a lot of things that the fiber and the CO2 are capable of independently. You know, uh,
And I
But it's
guess
very
that's
low
probably
wattage.
a good opening to say that. Should we say
I don't know if we can say it.
no?
We're pulling a grant.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess we could.
I think I understand. I'm very good at in between line reading, but
Uh,
let's
We'll
say
know
let's say
more.
I
I'll
am
put it this way.
actively.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. Before awfully long, I bet we have a whole lot better understanding of UV galvos. I'll put it that way.
very subtle. Very subtle. I like
Yeah, I'm I'm looking to make hopefully a purchase. I'm hoping before August. Hint, hint,
So
nudge, wink.
that.
that'd be
And
close. So
George,
George,
That might be close.
what materials are you
I'm pretty
wanting to do?
happy with the Aurora. Once we figured out the little quirks to it, and I'm still trying to understand the Lightburn version of it, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the fiber.
Oh, and Tommy and Lois, the wife and I are going to be coming down to your area last week in June, first week in July.
We'll be here. We're not going anywhere.
Copy that.
Hey, Brian, just real quick, that shift
Yeah.
trick worked.
Okay. All right. So it came back.
Yep. I
Okay.
don't know why it was just the shift one when I've restarted it several times, including the laptop, but
Yeah.
that shift worked.
I'm not sure exactly what the difference is either, but whenever the one in the menu doesn't work, that's what I've seen on a few of the forum posts in Lightburn, is to actually hold down shift and initiate the program again after you close it. Not sure what the difference is, but I'm glad it worked. Hopefully it won't act up on you anymore.
Did you guys see that Lightburn's actually having an in-person training seminar? I think it's in September out in
Yeah,
October, isn't
in
it?
Illinois or Indiana.
October, in the end of
Peoria.
October in Peoria, Illinois. Yeah, LBX, I think they're calling it. So I don't know if we'll have a representative out there or not. They want us to come out there, but we'll have to see.
I'm
I know,
working on it.
Brian.
Are
You were
you?
pretty chummy. You were pretty chummy with the creator of Lightburn.
We've been pretty chummy for 5 years or so. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
Happens
guess
in
they don't.
Vegas, stays in Vegas.
something like that. Yeah, that was an experience. The whole thing. The show was incredible. The people that we met, and I'm not really a super people person. I am through the computer, but or maybe I don't know. But it was an experience. So we learned a lot. So so what's our topic?
I mean, we could
Well,
probably go in Vegas a little bit more and then talk about what's going on in the laser world.
Well, oh, we could talk about what's going on in the laser world, but yeah. What
If
what was
anybody's
your
got questions.
yeah, definitely.
yeah, there's what Barnes is Barnes new or that's no.
I think Barnsley's new. Unless that's Jim
Somebody
with
with the same
code
thing.
name.
Yeah, it, that's funny. It's almost like when you're putting somebody on the spot, kind of like when you're in church and the pastor goes, "You lead the prayer," points at you, and like, what? Yeah. Well, okay. While we're waiting on some input, what what was your biggest takeaway on Vegas? If you could sum it up, Chris Myers, as far
Well, why you
as
got to put me on the spot like that?
Okay, Loco, he's ready. He looks like he's lubricated.
No, I found it amazing. One, the whole process of it, of how quickly, 2 days, everything went together, and overnight it just magically was carpeted, and all of these booths were ready.
Yeah, the
The amount of
organization.
money,
Hmm.
the amount of money in printers and stuff like that, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, $3 million printers from what we've heard. And
Yeah,
the response to Thunder, in comparison to some of the big dogs out there, was really good.
we
People,
managed not to catch any of our machines on fire too.
that's right, we did not. All right, Chris, you had enough time to think about
Right? Nah,
it.
what I really enjoyed was the Thunder family, the ones that showed up to come out and see us at the booth. You know what I mean? They spent time with us, got to meet some really cool people, talk to them. You know, people we've done training sessions with or talked to on a ticket or whatever, and then boom, there they are in person in the flesh. So that was cool. Shout out to
Yeah,
Ben Satterfield being one of those. I got
yeah,
to talk to him for a good while. Got to bump elbows with Rotoboss, with the creator of Lightburn and his support staff. So that was really cool. Seeing those guys live, like talking about issues or bugs in the software, and boom, they pull up a laptop and they're going through the code and resolving stuff. So that was really cool. Um, it's a good show. Good show.
yeah. I liked all of those things. I liked that the team was able to come together too and spend that time afterwards because the tech team is all remote. So you don't get that interaction like you do if everybody's in the office where you can just stick your head over a partition and tell somebody something or meet up at the water cooler and discuss something real quick, you know. So a lot of that gets lost in translation. So just being able to spend some time outside of it too was really cool. So, and Clay made that happen in China and all those guys. Meeting China and having all them together too, that was great. I mean, at one, you know, at any moment or at all moments, really, some of the greatest minds in lasers are all there in one place, you know, and it's just incredible the brain trust that was there, you know. It was crazy.
Definitely set a new personal best step record. I think everybody did.
Oh, man, I walk more in what 5 days than I have in the past 5 years, and that's probably no lie. My watch thought I was dead when I came back home, but it was
And
definitely
I will
great.
say that too. I mean, even not even the people that visit us that are Thunder customers, but the team building that we had as uh, Thunder support. You know, us spending a week together, holding each other's hands, was really nice.
Shh,
Um,
shh, shh, shh.
I know. I mean, that's right. It's supposed to stay in Vegas. No, it was really good. You know, I think we're all three of us are even closer, and the sales team, seeing them uh, interacting with Clay, it was good all around. And
Yeah,
the 22,000 steps didn't hurt.
gotcha. Yeah, it
Oh,
didn't.
got a message.
Typing. Sorry.
As we all work at the same time.
Yeah, and we'll get tunnel vision, so somebody might need to shake us up.
So Tommy, what's your opinion about the FSL situation?
Oh, thank you for the. I quit using acronyms in 2018 when I retired from the Army, so it took me a minute or two.
You're
So,
good.
and we've watched most of it, read most of it. I think I don't want to say it's comical, but again, you know, as we look at it from a customer perspective, I would have lost my mind. Uh,
Yeah,
Knowing that the software that we use is bought and paid for, and if I decide to stop paying for it, I can still use it. Um, knowing that the three of y'all can gain access if we allow it on our end to make modifications to whatever we need, it is comforting. And the fact that the three of y'all are there, it's, I guess, the first time, because when we bought the 51-130, I didn't do the normal payment. We didn't pay with a credit card. I wired money straight to the account.
Mhm.
That was after the check never made it, like a week and a half or so. So talking with Grant gives me this long number. I go to the bank and they're like, "Are you sure this is the number? Because once it leaves here, nobody ever sees it again." Like, oh crap.
I'm never doing a wire transfer then. I'm horrible
Uh,
at numbers and
Would have
words.
felt safer than a wire transfer to us, so that's not that weird.
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know. I feel horrible for people involved with it. I'm thankful that I don't want to say that our loyalty lies with y'all, but I find it very hard to buy somebody else's laser anymore. And it's been asked about the Aurora. Why did I choose that one? When it's what, twice as much as most? Because I have the three of you, and two of you I have right here, just because it's fun to BS at times, especially about 3D printers. But the fact that I don't have to worry, so that extra money goes into me not having a damn ulcer.
Yeah.
And the Aurora is put together a bit differently too. And you get the autofocus, and you have the fan, and you have the nice lid.
Oh, yes.
So that there are some
They-
benefits plus the support. But going back to the full spectrum of what we were talking about is those of you that don't know and don't follow it on Facebook. I guess there were some inner scams going on with employees and owners and issues, but
Allegedly.
allegedly, but Full Spectrum was able to shut down these machines that left the facility and just stop them from working remotely, which is a concern. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I can see it from a leasing standpoint, where if somebody's not paying the bill, turning off the electric, so to say. But yeah, that type of control over my machine is a little concerning.
Yeah. It is. And we were asking Lightburn for clarification on that, right? On
We
what
were.
their stance is on it.
I didn't get a solid answer,
Yeah.
and it kind of.
I know what the answer is going to be, because we were talking about it again, and he's always made it known, because some people say you're going to offer a subscription, because Lightburn's not a subscription now. Some people mistake it as one. You don't have to subscribe. You don't ever have to renew. It's best to, because you get the latest upgrades, and hell, it's only $30 to renew. And some of this software out there's $4,000. So it's a no-brainer to do that. But he's always said he will never go to a software as a service model or a subscription model like Adobe and Microsoft Office and all that have all gone software as a service. He said he will never, ever, ever, ever do that. So I think his answer to will you allow your software to shut down machines is going to be an unequivocal no. I absolutely will not allow that. You bought your machine, or I don't care if you did or not, you bought my software. You're going to get to use it without me
Right.
interfering.
And
So-
he has enough fail safes and ways around if somebody steals his software to shut them down, which is
Right.
legitimate. I mean that makes sense.
Yeah. It doesn't even shut them down. It just makes random stuff come out.
That's right.
Now we know
So-
RD works, and the controller has an ability to be locked and unlocked. We've seen that. Not that we employ it. We only have the article on how to unlock it.
And I think you have to do that either with a firmware or a config change. We'd have to physically go in or remote in and do those changes. It's not like
Yep.
on our end we could push a button and then it just sends it out to the machines,
Yeah, because
So,
we don't have a server that your machine is trying to ping. You have no need for internet access to run that machine.
yeah.
USB stick or USB or even your Ethernet direct connection has no reason to talk to a server. So,
Gotcha.
proprietary stuff, we don't have, software, we don't have a lock on that, which is great.
It's also a little scary. Especially if
Yeah,
that's your
and
livelihood, if that machine is your livelihood and you go to start it up in the morning and boom, boom, nope.
well, y'all give me feedback on my stance for I don't like cloud-based stuff, even though these two little things right here are cloud-based. They can be done local, and it goes back to the whole like PhotoBucket thing years ago, where they let you do free image hosting. Then after you built up a big enough account and they had enough users, like, oh, we want you to pay now. We're going to hold your bandwidth hostage, knowing dang well it was too hard to download all your photos and move them over. So a bunch of forum posts are now basically worthless.
The same thing happened with Vimeo. All of
Vimeo,
my video, yeah, the video hosting, all of my videos that were on there, I can't access anymore because they switched
Yep.
over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I use them for one specific instance. They do something that YouTube and none of the other video hosts can do. And I was paying for a subscription when I did this, when I was doing the Laser Engraving Institute. It will serve the video on only the web page or website that you say, and it serves it as JPEG images. So there's no way to record it because it's just slinging those JPEGs out as the video, at 30 frames a second. So the security was insane. There was literally, unless you were just a Vimeo employee or a hacker, that you could ever figure out how to pull those videos down. And that was good when we were monetizing those videos. But yeah, you're right. They'll lock you into stuff in no time. So yeah, we'll see how that comes out. I'm glad that's not us. We don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. We
Yeah,
run a
right.
little tighter
laundry's pretty.
ship than that.
The laundry seems pretty dirty.
Lois and I were joking. Yeah, technically, I did buy a laser out of a guy's garage. And we had to,
Yeah.
Yeah, but so
but I
that
didn't
brought up,
hand you the money.
that's right. So when I will post these on Facebook from time to time, and people message me, and I'm like explicit. This will go through Thunder Laser in Texas. Sales at Thunder Laser. Like, I don't want your Venmo. I don't want your cash. None of that. I don't even want to know what you pay for it. Just talk to those guys down in Texas. Y'all hash it out, and we'll discuss when it's going to be picked up.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just the warehouse guy at that point.
Yeah, I want nothing to do
I'll help
with.
you load it.
Let it go.
Yeah.
I just, hey, before they show up with the trailer, can I double check they've paid for it? So, yeah, that is kind of funny. I do several meetings of people picking up out of my garage or a storage unit. Yeah.
I do wish all those people the best of luck figuring that
Yeah.
out. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's
for
going
sure.
to a couple of years and a metric butt ton of lawyers to
Yeah.
get through that one.
And anytime you go through anything like that, whether it's an insurance claim or dealing with police reports, you have so much extra BS to go through, so many hurdles to jump, and you don't get any help doing them. And even if you got all your money back, and even if they turn the machine back on, and even if they compensated you for lost wages or whatever, they still cannot compensate for all the headaches and just nausea and all of that goes along with it. There's you can't put a number on that. I don't know. Hopefully everybody will get it worked out. Looks like they have a real good deal on lasers going on. I think Aeon's giving them 50% off if they're one of the verified victims of that, which is nice. And that'll get them going. It just makes me wonder if they can afford to give away $5,000 on every laser they get rid of. What are they worth to begin with? I mean, really? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's just me.
All right, so we got a
Brings up a
question
good
in the
point.
chat. Any way to get a better time estimate on Lightburn? Did a job, those 23 minutes. Laser said it was 38 to complete. And he has told Lightburn to read from controller. Now, if you're on the version 1.301, it's done a pretty good job with the estimate. It's much closer than it ever was, as long as you've got those uploaded parameters. There's also a little bit of tweaking you can do on the estimate underneath where you upload. There's a couple things you can kind of dial in to get it more accurate. The question be, was it on like a rotary job? Did you have fill shapes all at once, or did you have individuals? Stuff like that can make it not as accurate from an estimate. The other thing you can do is you can actually send the job to the machine, never even run it, and use the machine to give you a work time preview or estimate, and that'll be like down to the second accurate. And it just basically simulates it really, really quick. So Rick, if you had any more input on that, he's still here. Looks like Rick left. Okay, never. Oh no, he's down there.
No, he's
I
there.
see. Yep. I'm gonna put this article in there too.
How do you run that simulation directly on the machine?
So you've got to send it down to the machine. Use the send button, of course. You go to the file list, and as you highlight the file, look on the little set of mini bars to the right of the file list. There'll be a bunch of different options, and look for the one that says Work Time Preview. Let me see if
I
it's
probably
in the
never
article.
even noticed.
Oh yeah, like I said, it'll run through the simulation of actually running the job, and then it'll spit out a number.
That's really cool. Thank you.
Yep. If I could copy paste, life would be a lot easier. But I can't.
There's an
Hey,
app
guess
for
what?
that.
Yeah. Well, after using that Mac last week, my whole hand, my left hand is just boogered
Oh,
up.
come
Oh,
on. Yeah, if you were a horse, we'd have to shoot you.
Yeah.
I stubbed
So-
my toe.
Mac users, how are y'all pressing the command button? Are you using your thumb like a bunch of heathens?
Yes, it's.
Oh,
meant-
you mean Mac users
meant to
have
be there.
thumbs? That's what you really wanted
Yeah.
to say, isn't it?
Opposable thumbs. They can flush the toilet like a cat.
I can show you what finger I use.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh,
That's
damn.
what I'm talking about.
I can't
He's-
wait to
he's-
have drinks with Lois.
I'm
I
a
can't
closet
wait.
Mac user, and he's outing me on my Mac because he didn't like the keyboard.
It hurt, like trying to do all the command. And the worst part is there is a control button, and I kept hitting. I'm trying to copy paste and do the commands in Lightburn. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, but our controls are different.
IBM wouldn't let him do
Ours are
that.
better.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
don't know about better, different. Yeah, my left hand, I'm just like contorting it, trying to hit the command button. Loco shows me with his thumb. I'm like, but then I can't reach, where I'm trying to go with it. It's just weird.
If you ever took a typing class, you would
I
be
did.
using. All right, well then you should know.
I grew up on AOL Instant Messenger, man. We did shortcuts on CAD work.
Oh my God.
Oh
Now
yeah,
we're
the
using
command
typewriters.
window in CAD is the best.
I mean, all the shortcut keys, list routines, and all that.
Of course, I was using AutoCAD when you had to put a turbo processor in the computer and there was a digitizer pad.
I'm surprised Lightburn hasn't made a skin overlay for a keyboard with all the shortcuts.
There's a lot of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, that might be something they should look into. They could put that in their merch.
But then I wouldn't have my adorable cat one.
Oh boy.
It's like when you get it close.
Wait, what is that? Is it a silicone keyboard or something?
It's a silicone cover for my wireless keyboard.
Oh.
So that I don't get
The Mac-
dust and dirt and whatever on my keyboard.
Yeah. Chris
The
has
Mac
those
thing,
on all his
you wouldn't
keyboards.
understand.
Yeah, it's a Mac thing.
Oh, Jim is here. No video of him.
No,
We got-
that's not Jim.
That's
That's-
different, Jim.
It's different Jim.
Producer Jim's not on.
He hasn't responded to my text yet. So, question: what and for the Aurora, as Chris turns away the What?
See ya.
so in your cut files or whatever that specifically you want to call it, when you speed, power, frequency, number of passes, but then so I understand that, but then when you go to either start it or frame it, you get the other little pop-up window that comes up and tells you, repeat or continuous in your number of passes. Does that repeat only work when you have sublayers?
No, it'll repeat that entire job as many times as you tell it to. That's
Yeah, unfortunately you have to. It's almost like you have to hit run continuously and then repeat. It seems like you have to have both of those radio buttons checked for it to actually
Okay.
work.
Because I ran into that today. I had it set to do 4 passes for those copper coins, and it would only do 1.
Okay, yeah,
Huh.
so make sure you hit both of those radio buttons, and then you can change the pass count on it, and it should work. Yeah,
I
because
did make sure I did what?
So it says run continuously.
Yep.
You're gonna hit that radio button, check that, and then you're gonna hit repeat, check that one off, and then change the number.
Yes.
Then it should continue to cycle the amount that you put into the little window there.
Well, if you're saying you had 4 passes programmed in it and it only did 1, then that's not even a function of that, I don't think. There's something going on in those layer settings or something if it's only doing 1. You see what I
That's
mean?
why I was wondering if that was specifically designed when you have your layers and sublayers versus you just want to 1 pass and do
I think,
repeat it 5 times.
yeah, and I may be off on this, but I think the way that one works that's in the modal window that pops up when you frame, it's just going to do whatever job Lightburn tells it to do. It's just going to do as many times as you tell it to, or infinitely until you stop it. You see what I
Okay,
mean?
well,
So the
yes.
fact that you have it programmed to do 4 passes and it's only doing 1 does not seem to me like that would be the cause. There may be something else going on in there that's not, because you should be able to do the 4 passes regardless, whether you adjust any of that stuff or not. At
Yeah, and
least
that's
the
what
way.
we were struggling with today. It was only, I had 1 pass set in the layer. I had 4 passes set in that little window, and it just was only doing 1 pass. It's probably a glitch in the system somewhere.
I think it is because the repeat one should do it ad nauseum. It should just keep on going and
Yeah.
keep on going until you stop it, but
Yes.
it does not. It does not.
Okay.
At least the way that I've seen it so far. If you select what is it, run continuously and repeat, and you put your number in the repeat, it will do it the amount of times that you put in that little window.
Yeah. And
That defeats the purpose of the run continuously, which is, from the way it was originally described, was you click on that and then you just tell it to stop whenever you think you're at right.
I think the run continuously is so you can toggle on or off, because if you use the start button, I believe if you set it to 50 and you press the start button 50 times, it's going to quit after that. I think continuously means that it's just going to go over and over and over, and you don't have to hit the start button every time, because you can use the start button on the laser to advance that.
There's
You see what
definitely a glitch in the matrix, and I haven't figured out what and why.
Okay.
But yeah, there's something that doesn't work correctly, and if I figure it out, I'll let Lightburn know.
Thank you. That's all I ask. Oh, and I will give y'all a valuable safety lesson. If any of y'all turn wood, make sure you wear a full face shield. I took 5 stitches in my forehead Easter
Ooh,
Sunday because a spindle came off of my lathe.
ouch. So George is asking about the camera, wondering if we implemented a higher quality. The 4K is an 8 megapixel, and that's typically okay. You'll get better resolution with a head cam, even at a lower resolution, because it's closer to the material. We supposedly
Tried a
Lightburn will work with a
12.
13 or a 12. I had a 12. I couldn't get it to work with Lightburn. It was glitching. So I'm sure if you find a 12 megapixel, he said Oz says that he's run a 12 megapixel camera on Lightburn, but we just had to find one with the right chipset, or the right chip, so that it will do right. And we haven't really investigated that because we haven't found too many requests for a higher resolution camera. If you get them dialed in, they're usually really sharp.
And that would be
Yeah,
probably the next point, is that if you're having quality problems, you have to dial in the or the focus.
and I would lean more towards, instead of going up in megapixels, getting this head cam sorted.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
yeah,
you're off by 10 millimeter, you're way off. There's something going on there.
yeah. Usually those kinds of things, positioning and scale, are affected because you don't autofocus the test material before you output the pattern to click on those crosshairs. And then using the camera in conjunction with the autofocus moving forward, so that the surface of the material is always the same distance of the camera lens, just as it is the same distance from the nozzle. So if you're not using the camera heavily with the uh, autofocus, then it's hard to maintain accuracy.
And I would argue that you don't need a camera.
No, you don't. People have been running lasers for 20 years without the camera. So
We actually, she did something yesterday that she really could have used the camera for. That's the first time in
burning up
years.
scrap, wanting to make use out of scrap.
No, well, I also see when you're doing like marquetry work with the laser, and
Mm-hmm.
you want the grain of the wood to flow with what you're doing. I can understand that completely, and that's about the only, the
Gotcha.
only thing
So you
I
can
would.
visualize the grain as it relates to
Yes,
the position of the object. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
There you go. It looks like Rick is dialing it in, so he's focusing it.
But yeah, the camera, I mean, the trace function, having it up there, you can do those like foam tool holder cutouts or lens holder cutouts or other things that need foam, cases for. Stuff like that can be handy. Um, tracing stuff in the right perspective of what you plan to cut it in is helpful.
Hmm.
All
I
sorts
mean,
of little things.
one of the biggest things I used it for when I did use it was overlay the graphic I created in Lightburn on the product and sent it to the client. Hey, this is the sizing. This is where it's going to be. Are you happy with that? You can do it in Photoshop, but if you're already creating in Lightburn, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and he added some stuff to Lightburn to help with that mock-up process, where you can save the image black and white or save it full color, or save the overlay image, all of that stuff. So that helps. What is that, solid brass you're working on, CeeLo?
Um, I don't know. They gave me the coin, but it is solid, so it's not coated, which is nice
Yeah.
because the coated ones come out like crap.
Yeah, I found that out, and I got a whole box of them. I got to figure out a way to salvage
It
them.
just surface,
Just
just
do
anneal it
images.
black.
I'll do
Yeah,
pictures
anneal
or
it
something.
black, and you
Yeah,
should be good.
yeah. It's silver clad something. It may be copper on the inside, but
I'll
by
see
the
if I
time
could
you get
find
in
this.
there, it's not
I
good.
might have the settings I used for that. I did some really good ones that just had some like military stuff on it, and they came out really good, nice and black. But once you
Yeah,
started going deep, you just destroyed the coin.
It's not
yeah.
chocolate, is it? From Halloween?
That's what it seems like. It does. I mean, you get down. Actually, I have one.
My daughter's got a whole little like
Will
treasure
it?
chest of them
Yeah.
still.
where you can peel the first. They're like you can peel the aluminum off of each
Yeah.
side. It's like halved. Yeah. You gonna see if it'll laser?
Yeah, that's what ends up happening. It just
Oh,
turns.
you meant the dual color. I thought you meant you had some of the chocolate ones.
No,
I got
no,
one
but
upstairs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, once you
Yeah.
start going deep, you get down to whatever that crap metal is,
Yeah.
and it looks
Yeah.
like
That's what's happening with mine too. So
looks like booty.
producer Jim is here.
And then we got Pat as well. I don't know if I've seen Pat before.
Yeah. And Alan's jumped on just now. So cool. Glad you could join us. You guys
Thank
feel
you.
free to jump in and just interrupt us and ask questions if you need to, or otherwise we'll just be talking about some funky stuff.
Hey, y'all, most of y'all should have seen, we did prove that you could just put a thin wire screen, window screen, and it doesn't cause any issues.
Oh, to catch the small parts?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
You just play hell unrolling that and keeping it flat.
I wonder if you could magnetize it, depending on the material. It's aluminum, or is it some sort of steel?
I'll check.
Because I know when I cut the magnet sheets out, they stick to the honeycomb like it's fantastic. If it didn't make such a mess in the machine, I'd probably do more of it.
Nope, there
Oh,
it's
the
aluminum.
magnet.
Yeah, yeah. It's a laser mag or something from Romart, silver and gold, and it cuts well and it engraves well and it just sticks down to the honeycomb. But golly, it's a mess. That dust gets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make you guys actually
it's
clean that
aluminum
room.
screen.
Yeah, so you're not going to magnetize that.
Pat, you got questions? I saw you turn green for a second.
I was just sorry, I was typing. Had a question in the chat about the tubes that we use. Or a comment about it. So I figured I'd touch on that for just a minute. We use SPT and RISI tubes, and we don't really pick one over the other just because of the name. They all have their pros and cons, but they test all these things pretty regularly. And we pick the ones. There was a while they were using RISI in everything except just a few. Right now we're using SPT in just about all of them except for the 80-watt machines. And that's because the SPTs have been proven to perform better the way that we have our machines configured. So they test both of them in the machines and then they determine which one is best. So we don't just arbitrarily pick. There's quite a bit of testing that goes on in the background in the photonics lab in China to be able to determine which one we want to use. So
Anybody got a good? My mic not working. What the?
it's
No,
it's
we
not
can't
working.
hear
We
you
can't
at
hear
all.
you.
Nope.
No, it lit up green finally. Damn it. Anybody got any good settings for tropical mahogany?
No, just a non-tropical kind.
Are you talking about true mahogany?
Basically, I just had a customer drop an $8,000 guitar off and wants me to engrave.
That's probably true mahogany. So
It's tropical. It's tropical mahogany is what the manufacturer says.
Just make sure you hit send before? And not start.
Huh? Huh?
Jim, have you run Sapele before?
No. That's one thing I don't have. Not in nothing to test it against. And he's like, well, I said, I didn't even know how I'm going to get it fit inside the laser itself anyways. I've got to figure that out. And then he told me, he's like, well, no rush on it, but I will pay a rush charge if you can have it done by Sunday.
Rick looks like he's picking up all of Loco's chips off the roulette table.
That's a sore
Yeah.
subject, my friend.
Yeah, but they went a lot faster.
Are you just trying to engrave it, Jim?
Yeah.
I'll be back. Yes, I actually have mahogany.
Yeah, it's making me actually nervous. I've never tried to engrave something that costs that much money.
Yeah, that can be.
And it's his favorite
nerve-wracking.
guitar. And it's his favorite guitar on top of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even do a waiver on something like that. I might say sorry, but
Yeah, that'd be
I
one of
mean,
those liable only up to the limit of whatever you're charging them, no
Yeah.
more.
And this is one of his cheaper guitars.
Ooh.
Yeah, he showed me pictures of the pretty ones hanging on the walls. And I'm like, holy crap. He's got ones that, well, this most expensive one, he says 25.
Good Lord.
Exactly. Yeah, so he had dropped it off, and I'm trying to put it back in the case as I'm holding it gently. He says, "Oh, you have to push on it. It's a firm fit." Going, I don't want to push on this thing. But then he stands here and I'm talking to him. He says, "What kind of music do you like?" And I said, "Country." And he says, "Who do you like?" I said, "Stapleton." And this guy just picks this up and starts running a Chris Stapleton song.
Dang.
I mean, it sounded just like it was badass just having somebody just pick up a guitar in your shop and just run an entire Stapleton song. But that's part of what he does for his living.
sorry, I was looking at a ticket.
Then
If
he
anybody's got
told me,
anything, kick in.
he
Otherwise,
told me we just talk
go
like
ahead.
dumb shit like this. Yep, I'm back. Then he told me, I said, you like, he said, just for extra fun things, he does like winery venues and stuff for the weekend. See, I've already ran people off. I'm here 2 seconds and Alan left. And then he told me how
He's
much he
there.
charges per hour just to do a winery. And I'm like, oh my God, I do the wrong thing for a living.
Yeah, but he's probably got a couple decades of experience.
He's 58 and been doing it, playing guitar since he's been 18.
Yeah.
How many years didn't he make money is the question.
I don't know. He owns a roofing company on top of that and another business.
Oh, well, there you go. All right.
And he's not a customer I think I don't want pissed off at me either because the dude's freaking huge. I was
Yeah, you
like,
better
yeah, I
not
don't
mess
want.
his stuff up.
No, he would pretty much just the size of him probably grab a hold of me and just twist me, shove me inside my laser, or shove me inside of his guitar case.
Gentle fit though, right? Gentle fit or firm fit?
Yeah.
What are we doing with the silence? What's going on?
How do you guys
Seeing
like
how
those
long it'll go.
JDS tumblers?
Minus the ribs, they're the best deal that you can get.
'Cause I was looking at potentially purchasing directly from China.
So we just
Uh,
ran 400. No, I fixed it. We just ran 400 of this size in red, and they were great. So we have no issues with them at all.
They clean up nice, Lois.
Yeah, we hired one of our son's friends to come. I'd get like 3 cases worth of cups ran while I was doing other stuff, and then he'd come in for the day and just scrub cups. So a little bit of spray like so both sides with the straight LA Awesome. Don't dilute it or anything. And then grab a magic eraser. I cut mine into quarters so that I can get better usage. I'm not using the name brand. I'm using cheaper ones. Let the LA Awesome sit, and you can start to see it all start to drip and look nasty. But before it dries, then scrub it off, and then I just rinse with water and dry them off.
One of the things
So
I'm looking to try and do is shave off as much time from my projects as possible so I can maximize my hourly rate, right? So I love the Yetis for the fact that typically, with the exception of one or two of their newer models, when you go to clean them, literally it is one wipe with a cloth and it is jet shiny. Like you don't have to do
Oh,
anything to it. You don't have to use any chemicals. Literally, it's just wipe and it looks perfect, with the exception of the darker colors. The darker colors, you have to up your power just a hair for some reason, I'm noticing. With the Arctics, it's hit and miss. It's like one day all of a sudden they're lasering great, and then you get a batch that's lasering not great. So that's why I'm glad to hear that you did that large scale production run with the JDS ones and that they turned out really good.
yeah.
JD,
I mean, no problems.
my experience with JDS, I've ran bunches of them, and I run one. I go set it in the sink. I'll spray it with LA Awesome, let it sit there. Come back out here, grab the one that's running. Go back in there, clean the first one off, spray the other one. Come back out here, and depending like black, you can pretty much spray it with LA Awesome and just spray it, wipe it, and you're done. Black just falls off.
Yeah, I do a lot of blues, and that's exactly my workflow. While run's running, I'll just wipe the other one off, and I'll slide it in the box, set it there, and get the next one out. And it's a perfect amount of time between those, so I'm busy in between, but I'm not rushed. It's a perfect little cadence. But
Found the TAL brand from Walmart was the ones that cleaned up the easiest. The only ones I used the Magic Eraser to be on Yetis. I always found those to be difficult, but most of the time I was on black Yetis. And then other ones I can just, like the Amazon specials, you just spray it with LA Awesome. You can just kind of see it melt and then you just wipe it and it's done.
yeah,
But
That's
the
pretty much
how
what
TALs
much?
have always been the easiest.
What's a JDS cup costing each wholesale? I know it might depend on volume and that
$6,
kind of stuff.
$6
Okay,
about.
We just
all right,
sent out
because
an email
Well, it
today.
depends which
They're
depends
on
which cup.
closeout.
yeah, I like a 20 ounce, like because I get 20
20
ounce
ounce for
just off.
$7.97, I think, right now on one case pricing.
Yeah,
One
it
Barrel.
case
depends
is
on which
640.
pricing you get.
And if you're buying 10 or more cases, I think, or have their 5,000 guaranteed spend a year thing, they give you the 10 case, which is I think is in the $7 low $7 range.
Yeah, so I just get mine on Amazon because I just do little batches here and there, and I think I'm paying like $8 a cup for them, and they do pretty decent. But
Yeah, I've used those same ones, and those are the ones that I found that was spray and wipe and done.
yeah,
No Magic Eraser required.
yeah. Now the red ones are a little weird, but the black and the blue, the yellow ones are hard to do too. But
Yellow's actually ugly. I don't think they ever look that great.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's weird how the
400
pigmentation can affect.
those 400 that we just did were red.
Uh-huh.
Meter has a trim knob. How do you set that? You talking about for your meter? What meter are you talking about?
You can get a remote
There's
meter.
Probably
you
for
can
the
get a remote
LPSU.
meter for the power supply. That doesn't work on an 80 watt. It doesn't adjust anything, and you have to have the switch flipped. We've got the switches flipped to the left on the power supply.
No amperage.
And I don't actually, yeah, it's all disabled. We've got both the internal and external pots disabled on those power supplies because we changed those settings in the configuration in the machine settings, the 7% for the minimum and the 70% for the max in the configuration to calibrate them. So there's no need to twist anything or adjust anything.
Not a K40. You don't need to deal
Right,
with that.
right. If you want to change the power, you'll have to change it in Lightburn
Yeah, you
or
should be able to pulse
on
from
the
it
fly on
though.
the panel.
The red button test where you can still pulse from it.
With oil, if you pull the opto, now I don't think that matters.
Yeah,
That test bypasses every possible input.
yeah.
It just fires wide open. So yeah, the 100 watt one, I think if you get the remote meter, you can adjust it, but it would require you turning the switch to the right. There's a little tiny switch on the power supply. And if you do that, you're going to throw the calibrations out of whack because it won't any longer be bypassing those potentiometers so that you're allowing the controllers configuration to convert it, you'll be relying on that. And there's no telling how they have that twisted in there. We keep that off on purpose so that we can have a uniform and standard installation across the whole machine series. But I've
So
never tried
Brian,
the little button to see if it works. I'm told it works that way.
so Brian, if I hear you correctly, you could install it, but the trim with, unless you switch that switch that you're talking about, the trim is going to have no effect, which would be
Right,
fine. But you would be able to see the amperage on
right.
top of the machine. I think you have one in your lab set up that
I,
way. I saw
I
a
do.
video.
My Nova's got one, and everybody puts those on their other lasers because you have to watch the current. Of course, that's not the case here, but since this is kind of a test environment, I like to have a heads up view of what my current is right at that moment. So it'll absolutely do that and be able to provide that in real time where you can have it at a heads up display. Yeah.
So you mentioned that other suppliers put it on their machine. Why do they put it up there? For example, OhmTech does it. Why do you
They
think
don't
they do that?
they use whatever tubes and power supplies come in however they get those machines, and they're not calibrated. So they just tell you don't go over X amount of current because that's easier than calibrating the machines where you don't go over. Instead of, properly matching the tube to the power supply, they throw them in their stock and say run with it, just don't go over 60% power.
I
With
got you.
Thunders, you can go up to 100% and still not exceed the manufacturer's
Yeah.
maximum current on operation. Now, that's not to say that the tube life won't be affected minimally. You know, even if you stay below the maximum, you drive a car harder. It's not going to last as long. As far as duty cycle and that kind of thing. But that's why we don't have a meter up front anyway. We have one in the back, but that's more for if we need to test it, we can run around back there and do it. So it's not an absolute necessity. I just like to be able to see it. All of my other lasers had to have those, and I guess I just kind of got used to it.
Yeah, I'm curious about it, so I may put one on there. It's not very expensive. The
No,
I think the
yeah, they're
Cloud Ray figures $30 or something like that or
yeah,
less.
yeah, and it's neat to be able to see what's happening during the engrave, and kind of make. I used to talk on the CB radio, and that's what I used to watch. I'd watch that needle swing over in the strawberry patch. So I get it that having a visual there, can be helpful for some people. So
I'm not sure it'll help me, but it would be a point of curiosity just to keep an eye on it and maybe
sure,
learn something. Yeah. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
absolutely. CeeLo over there burning coins again.
Yeah,
He's making poker chips.
I need them.
What, did you lose a bunch of them or something?
I lost $300 in 20 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
That that's why I don't gamble. I take that back. I did. I did. I can say that I gambled in Las Vegas. I had $28. I'm a high roller. See, I stayed over on the dollar slots. Let it chew it up just so I could say that I did it.
See, I would have been
So
on the quarter or penny slots of $28.
the
I'm even cheaper
progressives,
than that.
yeah. Hey, a nickel slot saved us when I went to Tunica with my wife. I'd lost about $400 before we even made it to the hotel, lobby to get our room keys and go check in. And she hit a nickel slot on a progressive, for like $700 or $800, and that saved us. I was about ready to get in the car and go home,
A
but
buddy of mine him and his girlfriend broke up, and I was actually friends with her before I was with him. And he calls me one day and says, "What are you doing for the next 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "I don't know why." I was living in West Virginia at the time, and he says, "Well," he says, "pack your bags. I'll be there like in 2 hours." And I'm like, "Where the hell are we going?" He said, "I already had an all expense paid trip down to Florida, Fort Myers." He said, "For her and I," and he says, "I ain't wasting her side." He says, "So we'll go have some fun." So then he takes me,
there
and
you
he went and did all the things they were going to do, and he took me out on the. We didn't do everything that they were going to do. Now I seen your eyes roll there, Chris.
It took you out on the boat and what?
Then he took me out on one of those casino boats or whatever the hell it is.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, I said, oh, I ain't going to gamble. I said, I don't do that shit. And I said, I'll just go sit up on deck. And he hands me $20. I went over on this slot machine. I think I put it in there. I hit the thing 3 times, won 100, cashed out, went up, sat on the top deck, and he comes upstairs and he comes up on the deck and he goes, well, I've lost like $400 now. And I said, well, here's 100. And he says, where'd you get that at? I was like, I played 75 cents or whatever the heck it was. I said, 3 runs. And I said, I want $100. And I said, I'll keep your 20. He said, Jesus. He said, so that